This video is sponsored by my patrons on Patreon. If you would like to help choose which movies that I review every week, you can go donate to the $3 tier and you'll have access to polls on everything that I make almost, essentially. So yeah, thank you to my patrons. Hello everyone, long time no see. I really haven't been talking about movies very much on the channel, but I've decided to change that, especially considering that we are fast approaching, some would argue that we are in award season, which if you don't know what that is, at the end of the year, the award films always get released. So from about October to December, we're stockpiling great movies at the end there. And I think we're starting to get there. I know it's only September, but I saw a couple of pretty cool movies this weekend. The first of being Cry Macho. Now, Cry Macho is Clint Eastwood's 39th film that he has directed, which has to be some type of record for like mainstream directors. That's absolutely insane to me. Of course it makes sense because he's literally in his 90s, but the fact that he's still making movies is kind of impressive to me. Now, my track record with Eastwood in recent years is he's a relatively hit or miss guy. The 15-17 to Paris was like super bad, but Sully was actually pretty good. So I never really know what to get when I'm going into a modern Eastwood project. But I have to say, Cry Macho really was not all that bad. Now, I hadn't watched any of the trailers approaching the film. I just kind of went into it blind on HBO Max. And when I first started the film, I was incredibly confused because most of the projects that I've seen from Eastwood are like deathly, very serious, very dark projects. And I didn't know this, but apparently the person I was watching it with told me he has done some more lighter projects too. But coming into this, so I'm expecting a dark project, a more serious tone. And the acting is like super cheesy from everybody except for Clint Eastwood. And I'm like, this doesn't really immerse me in the experience. But I think I was a little too quick to judge because this is a pretty light film, relatively. And I kind of liked it. I had a good time with it because it's super corny. It's super cheesy. The dialogue is really bad. And the performances aren't great, but it's shot pretty well. We don't really get many modern westerns that we can enjoy. The last one that I can remember super enjoying was Slow West, and this one was pretty good. And it kind of makes sense why the performances weren't that great. The kid specifically, who Clint Eastwood goes to find in Mexico and bring him back to his father, that's kind of the plot of the whole film. It's his first role, so I understand. And most of the other actors in the main cast, although the main cast is literally just Clint Eastwood and the kid, but some of the supporting actors, they really haven't been in much either, and this is their first mainstream film, so I can understand why the performances aren't great. But you know what really got me on this one, and maybe I'm just getting a little bit old, maybe I'm getting a little too haggard, my cynicism is finally starting to wear down, but I enjoyed just the aesthetic, just the vibe, just the good emotions that it elicited from me. It's a relatively upbeat film about finding connections with people that you wouldn't expect to find connections with, and it didn't really pretend to be anything else other than that, which is why I love films that know what they are. A lot of films that try to be darker and stuff like that, when in all reality they're just like a bonding film, those don't really work for me. But this film knew what it was, and I gotta appreciate it for that. Also, I kind of actually really like the cinematography here. It's nothing outstanding, but it's just very sturdy shots that match the tone and the aesthetic of the film itself. So I was confused as to why I liked it so much. Turned out, this is the same cinematographer that did Marvel movies, including Doctor Strange, which is indubitably, unequivocally, unquestionably the best shot Marvel film. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I also really enjoyed it was edited well. I know that sounds dumb. That's not something really people you pick up on when you watch a film for the first time, but I like the way that it was cut together, kind of flowed into each shot flowed into each other relatively well, and that's something that I enjoy on the technical side of a film. Also, I want to quickly shout out the absolute best part of this movie, which is Macho, the rooster that Raffo has and actually saves their lives at one point in time in the film. And in regards to my negatives about Cry Macho, conflicts happen in like 10 seconds. They'll start and then they'll get resolved like immediately. So I never really felt any tension during the film, which is a very constant thing in Eastwood movies. But I didn't feel that here. And also, I said the dialogue was really bad. And I couldn't really get past that a lot. And there wasn't much to grab me. So overall, I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on this one. It's pretty fun. I don't think it's worth going to the theater to see, but if you have HBO Max, absolutely check it out. It's a pretty solid time. The other film that received a vote for me to talk about was Blue Bayou, so I will also be talking about that. It's Justin Chon's 4th feature film. I really liked, I can't say the word, but his last film that starred Dumbfounded, who I super enjoy because I'm very much into battle rap. Now, Blue Bayou is interesting because I have seen some negative reviews of it, and I've also seen some very overwhelmingly negative reviews and some very overwhelmingly positive reviews. And in regards to my opinion, I definitely lean more on the positive side than the negative side. Yes, what they are saying is true. This film's dialogue is not much better than Cry Macho's. It's pretty over the top in terms of emotion, and it's very sappy, almost to a detrimental extent. Like the first 45 minutes of the film, I was totally down with it. It wasn't bothering me at all. And then the longer that it went on, the more I started to notice it and the more it started to irk me. That being said, almost everything else about this film is so good. Justin Chon's performance is magnificent, breathtaking, beautiful. The cinematography is, I don't want to talk in absolutes here. I think it's the best that I've seen all year. Very Sean Baker, Florida Project-esque, very almost guerrilla style. The color palette of the blue is very distinct, and I absolutely love that about this. Alicia Vikander's all right, but the little girl, oh my gosh, actually completely surprised me so much. Especially considering the fact that this is literally her debut feature, and I am not a fan of child actors most of the time, but she completely blew it out of the water. This film is inevitably, whether you like it or not, a tough one to get through. If you don't like it, it's tough because of the way that it's portraying the experience of getting deported in immigration. And I don't agree, but I can understand some people are taking issue with the fact that it seems to favor an ICE agent in the movie. I would not agree with that at all. I would agree that he's just a person beyond his occupation, and they make the police seem like absolute awful human beings. So I think it's fairly balanced, but I get where the criticisms are coming from. And it's true, I do wish that the story was put together a little bit better. It kind of seems like we're going somewhere in the first 2 acts, and then the 3rd act kind of just it goes off in a completely different direction and takes almost a completely different tone in a way that I do not think is beneficial for the film. But the technical elements here are just so on point, and I'd argue very, very close to perfect, that I can't overlook that and say that the film is bad. If I'm trying to be as objective as possible, I can say that there were some parts of it that I did not like, but wow, oh wow, Blue Bayou blew me away with just the masterful direction that Sean has. He doesn't have it in the way that he tells characters to deliver dialogue, but he absolutely has it in a technical sense. So, closing thoughts. Blue Bayou manages to definitely overcome its shortcomings with plentiful bliss in all of the other areas. I enjoyed it a lot, and it made me pretty sad, and I was definitely thinking about it after I left the theater on my hour-long car ride home, if that says anything. And I'm not one to be pondering or pontificating alone about things after a film is a film. I kind of just watch it, review it, and I'm done with it. But this made me think a little bit. Overall, I know I gave this one much more praise than Cry Macho, but it's just going to get a 7 from me because of the dialogue and the kind of lack of cohesion going on in the storytelling for me. But I super enjoyed it. You should, if it is in a theater near you, you should definitely go see it because it's one of the prettiest movies that I've seen all year. And I think you'll have a interesting time with it. I won't say good because I didn't have a good time with it. I was pretty sad, but it'll be interesting. So that's about it for Colin at the Cinema episode 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Every week, I'm gonna try and do this, and if I don't, you can hold me to it. I'd like to once again thank my patrons Weston Katecki and Carl McGee, and my producer, the BC Film Reviews, and Tim Hernandez. Just joined the Patreon. Shout out to you, Tim. Thank you so much for supporting me and my content. If you would like to help choose what movies I talk about and support me directly, because these clips of films kind of get demonetized pretty easily, the link is in the description. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys next week at the cinema. Goodbye.